Hi, Stacey. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I would love to just start off by you telling me more about Retreat Me, how you started it, and what inspired you.
So I launched the first version of the platform for Retreat Me in November 2019. And I started Retreat Me mainly because I was seeing a few different issues kind of within the wellness and wellness travel, people wanting to go on retreats type of industry. I'm a Pilates teacher myself. I've been in wellness my entire career. I've also done some work in travel, and also I'm really passionate about travel. So it kind of was a culmination of my experiences and passion drawn together, and just seeing that there was a lot of issues kind of within the rise of the wellness tourism industry, but how people could access that easily. So I came up with a concept of trying to bring together a marketplace where people could really easily list their experiences and retreats, making it really affordable for them, so that it's not taking a huge chunk out of each practitioner's and host's income, but also enabling clients and consumers to find the experience that would suit their needs the best. So whether that was something very specific in terms of advanced practice, or even down to something very private and basic, that for maybe people who are just getting on the ladder into wellness, to really kind of accelerate them maybe to the next level of their wellness, would feel comfortable with, which was where I came up with the retreat builder concept, where you could actually build your own retreat within a private environment. So it was kind of a culmination of working with all these different industries and people, and just seeing that there was a real issue with that whole process and experiences of booking and finding exactly what you need in terms of a wellness travel experience, but also on the side of the practitioners, allowing them an easy place to advertise, for one, but not just retreats, their actual practices, so that it's not just a place where you can just go on and just book retreats. You can actually book in a private service with a practitioner at location. So if you're looking for a yoga teacher to work with you every day, or a sound healing meditative practice facilitator, you'll be able to find those on Retreat Me. And it's not necessarily about doing a whole wellness experience, it's just about injecting wellness experiences into your already kind of planned itinerary as such.
That's amazing. That's awesome. And so you said that you were a Pilates teacher for a very long time. So when did that happen? Was that your business experience? Is that how you started working in as a business owner? My degree is human nutrition. I then qualified as a personal trainer back in 2006. And I suppose that was kind of my first rung onto the entrepreneurship ladder, was starting up my own personal training business and nutrition business. And I worked as a consultant, and I went around educating practitioners also about nutrition. And that was kind of my first rung really onto the entrepreneurial ladder. From that, I did actually end up going and working for Emirates as like a year out. So that was kind of one of my experiences in travel. And from there, I landed myself in the Middle East, where I ended up starting up my own female-focused wellness business in Abu Dhabi. One of the first female-run businesses in the Middle East, in Abu Dhabi, and it was all focused about bringing wellness to females within an environment, because they couldn't mix necessarily in a gym. A lot of them weren't necessarily comfortable of going into a gym, so I actually started bringing over female trainers from the UK to start bringing home training in throughout Abu Dhabi, and I ended up selling that business in 2015, and then came back to the UK, which was when I then started up my own little Pilates studio. I'd already trained in Pilates a number of years before that, but had never specifically focused my business in Pilates, so I did that then in 2015, 2016, and kind of it's all just grown from there really. This is kind of the extension from that.
That's awesome. I mean, I spent time in Oman. I was born in Oman, and I spent time there. Yeah, so like we did a lot of women in business stuff. I was there when I was a young teenager until I was about 18. So my work experience was all in business, but also obviously you experience the gender segregation. And in terms of fitness and stuff, it is about feeling comfortable, and it's amazing that you were able to facilitate something like that. I know that people, all over the Middle East, especially women, of course, would have really benefited from that. And it seems like you've had like little steps along the way to kind of inject you with that knowledge and that experience and maybe that confidence to create something like Retreat Me. It sounds like it's a very big business, with lots of different parts and components. I would just like to talk about the challenges that you've experienced over the creation of Retreat Me. Are there any specific things that you were like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe that we actually got over that? Is there anything that comes to mind?
COVID.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Being the biggest one. So yeah, of course. I mean, there's been a lot of challenges. It's been very challenging moving into tech. Raising investment. This is the first business I've ever raised investment for. And obviously, yeah, COVID. So there's been a multitude of big challenges with Retreat Me, actually. So yeah, I mean, like I say, I launched the initial platform. So it was a B2B. We hadn't got the B2C side ready yet for Retreat Me. We launched in November 2019. We got our initial adopters, and we were just ready to go to market when lockdown happened. So that was, and then of course I knew I had been trying to raise investment, since I launched. I knew that I needed investment for Retreat Me. So I had to really think about what my priorities were in terms of keeping Retreat Me going, and what areas I could build, where to focus. Obviously, I had been focusing largely on Bali, Thailand, as real wellness hubs, whereas I had to now think about domestic market. So pivoting in that respect. Of course, that was very challenging because a lot of the wellness facilities, retreats, etc., all closed. Trainers weren't allowed to work except for online, so it was incredibly challenging to keep it going. I did then do a crowdfunder. It was a non-equity crowdfund, and managed to raise some money to keep the platform going. I also got a little bit of backing from the NatWest Back Her scheme, which was great. So in terms of just getting enough funding to keep Retreat Me going and building up B2B side and networking, it was a big hurdle, but we got there. And I did eventually get my first angel investment, my pre-seed angel investment, in November last year, 2021. So yeah, it was a big old challenge to keep it going, to keep the platform developing as well. Yeah, but we did manage. I was bootstrapping, trying to work myself and trying to keep injecting cash in. So yeah, so that was number one big challenge. Like I say, moving into tech was a big challenge for someone who I didn't have a tech background. I had to learn a lot very quickly. I fell into the same trap as many people fall into, where you go to a company with your scope. They say yes, and then they kind of build you the most basic version of the scope that you've given, rather than going deep into the architecture, which is a really fundamental it's a mistake that many founders make when they're moving into tech and building tech, when they've not got an experienced CTO on from the beginning. So if anyone is considering moving into tech, I would highly advise trying to get a technical co-founder if you don't have the tech experience yourself, which you can find on, there's a lot of platforms for finding co-founder partners. So I recommend that. And yeah, raising investment itself. It was interesting. I launched at Web Summit, which is it's a great experience in Portugal, in Lisbon. It's the world's biggest tech event. They call it like the Olympics for tech. Wow. And I launched there. I managed to get on their alpha track, so like the kind of accelerator track and I did my launch there, which was a great experience, again speaking to investors and just being in, you know, around all that kind of, so many people that were in tech startup. I got approached by a journalist from the USA, because there was very few female faces there, of course, females in tech, females trying to raise investment, very few and far between. And so she came and she was like, women. She was like, why are you here? What are you doing? And so I was like, well, I'm looking for investment. I've just launched my platform. Da, da, da. And she was like, you do know that females only raise 2% of VC funds every year? And I was like, wow, okay. She was like, and she was like, you're going to struggle. And it was, you know, it was a big eye opener for me, things that she said to me. And I was like, surely not this day and age. Like we're not in the 50s, but it has been a challenge. And yes, like that actually so we're almost 3 years on from that launch, 2.5 years since. And those stats have not unfortunately moved at all.
Wow. What do you think is stopping women from kind of taking that percentage a little bit higher? Do you think it's because of the heaviness of the male influence, or is it because women don't know much about investment, or, you know, tech, or
maybe a culmination of all? You know, in terms of, there's a lot of female accelerator schemes now and everything that are trying to support female investment. But obviously we're just not seeing it move the bar just enough. I mean, there are plenty of female business owners, and you know, even the statistics do show that those that have invested in female-led businesses have actually had better returns on their investment than the majority of male businesses. So it's interesting. I have found there is a very investment, it tends to be a lot of who you know, not what you know. It is a very male dominated. Most of the people I have dealt with trying to raise investment have been male. Now, whether that's been even in crowdfunder platforms, in dealing with angels, the majority has been male. Yes, it's been, so I struggle to tell you really, because, you know, I've heard of people achieving less than they have in their business and have had more investment than I have yet managed to gain. It does feel a little bit like a boys' club sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that there's so much room for us to, you know, move forward, especially in business and stuff, and it's definitely becoming more progressive. I do feel that, but I mean, if you think about it, it's only really in the last maybe 10 to 15 years that women have really stepped forward in business. And even, you know, the majority of business owners, it used to be, you know, kind of family run things. And now, obviously, as time goes on and social media is booming, lots of young individual entrepreneurs are coming to the surface. And obviously now, in terms of equality and everything, obviously we've had it legally for years, but I do think that society itself kind of takes a lot longer to catch up. And yeah, I mean, the best that we can do, I think, is keep encouraging those spaces. I don't personally think that keeping the gender separate in business is helpful to anybody. So ladies only networking, I just feel like the more we try to integrate and come up and with solutions and progress together, I think maybe that's the best way forward. However, I do understand that it is also important to have that support group and that basis of identity, I think, with one another. But it's so interesting of what you're saying. I feel like more women need to have more awareness of, and maybe just a little bit of education of investment and what it really takes. Thank you so much for sharing your point of view. I'm just conscious of time at the minute, but for the last question, any advice for any young entrepreneurs that would be thinking of starting their own businesses? What would you like to tell them?
Yeah, well, I mean, just go for it. You know, like, you're going to learn along the way. You're going to make mistakes. Just take every mistake as a learning experience, and don't be afraid of making the mistakes. but also just be, you know, reach out to, there's lots of networks, entrepreneur networks, startup networks. Barclays Eagle Labs have one here in Liverpool, which I'm an active part of. So you should like reach out to all of those support networks. They're really, really helpful, and they really do help keep you going, as like, you know, when you're maybe having a bit of a day. And some great books, Darren Hardy's Entrepreneur Roller Coaster, highly recommend it. It's really, really motivational. And yeah, just get on LinkedIn, network as well, and that's probably the best bits of advice I can give off the cuff.
Oh, amazing. Thank you so much, Stacey. And I mean, before we go, where can people find you? Where's the best place for people to contact you to find more about Retreat Me and the work that you're doing?
They can get me on LinkedIn, Stacey Sharp, or just go on retreatme.com. That's a retreat with an MI on the end.com, and just send us a message on the live chat. The team will always forward it to me.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.